Hey guys, it's Canadian Kyle here at the Wealth Orders podcast, and today I'm joined with Jose Garcia. He is the CEO of SilverX Mine, and ticker symbol is AGX on the TSXV. And the Nueva Recuperada project is in Peru. And Jose, you say are calling in from Peru, is that correct?
Yes, I'm in Lima. Thank you, Kyle, for having us today.
No, I'm really excited to share this story with my listeners out there. And I always start off with the same question, Jose. What were you doing when you were my age? I'm 26. So what were you doing from 20 to 26 years old?
I am 40. I just turned 40 a few weeks ago. When I was 26, I moved to Australia. I was a young mining engineer and I was appointed superintendent of a large, I don't know, mine. At the age of 26, I moved to Western Australia.
And what about from 20 in your early 20s?
I am from Madrid, the capital of Spain. I studied mining engineering. I finished when I was between around 22, I would say, 22, 23 years of age. I started to work on my summers on some projects in Latin America, particularly in Peru. Then I got a job with Anglo American. They sent me to Chile. A Canadian company hired me back in Spain in med mining. So I was actually having three jobs in between the age of 22 and 26, actually 2 years each, and it was a lot of fun. I really was lucky in that sense.
Okay, and let's elaborate more on your experience here because I read your nice little bio on SilverX, but tell us more about your mining experience, your accomplishments, and why you're the man for the job for a high grade silver producer.
Well, I think that we have two things. I will speak about myself, but I would like to emphasize the team we are building. We are extremely entrepreneurial. I was lucky enough to have a global experience, as I said, being European, work in Latin America. I work in Australia. I was working in Switzerland, typically for large mining companies, but also I worked for an international organization called the World Economic Forum. I think all in all, it gave me a very global perspective. And having that sort of global thinking, I realized that we wanted, me with some other partners, co-founders of this company, we wanted to build a company literally from scratch. We were familiar with Peru. We were in love with the geology of the country, which is amazing, right? And actually, it's a very good environment for business. So we said, okay, let's start a company over there. And we started literally with our friends and families, okay? It was bootstrapped for a long time, but we had this entrepreneurial mindset. We actually have worked as a fellowship and we built a company where many other people wouldn't be able. So we are really proud about it. And I think I'm the right man for the job because we have that team, okay? And we have that mindset, that energy. And I think we cope that also with a very good business acumen. So we are hands-on, we are mind builders, and we understand markets and we understand money. I think we are going to have a lot of success here.
Thank you. And why don't you go ahead and elaborate on the X brand and more about your teammates and why SilverX for people that don't know?
Excellent. That's a good question because we were called Latitude Silver.
Mhm.
Why Latitude Silver? Latitude was a name that we liked. We founded and we grew the company as such. And eventually, being a private company in Peru, a country where there is little access to finance, we wanted to be listed in Canada. Why is that? Because it's the mecca of the junior mining companies, right? And in doing so, we had a very good relationship with people like Paul Matisek, for instance, who has been partner or actually board member of several companies with the X brand. He's a very successful person that built Gold X, Lithium X, and some other series of companies. And we wanted to partner up. And one of the ideas was to actually rebrand the silver company as Silver X. Why the X? Is the X factor, the multiplying factor. That's what we are.
Perfect. I like that. Let's see here. What other question do I have? I was gonna say, in your own words, what is SilverX? Because are you a silver producer? Are you an exploration company? Like, who are your main competitors in the silver space?
I think we have very few competitors. We are a silver producer. Next year, we're going to be producing somewhere in the neighborhood to 2 million ounces of silver equivalent. Okay. in the scope of things, it's not a large silver company, but it's actually a mining company that is producing, is offsetting all the costs, is actually having a profit, is growing organically, and is proving that we are a really good team. So we can also grow inorganically. Okay, I think SilverX is also a good explorer. We are sitting on fabulous ground in central Peru, and that district actually is not untouched because it's been actually mining activities been there probably since the time of the Spaniards. Okay, but it's really the first time that we are doing aggressive mining and very ambitious exploration at once. So we're going to be reporting very good news over the next year.
And Peru's been making a lot of headlines this year, right? So I was wondering, is that what I want to get your thoughts on your share price, because your share price is trading near all-time lows right now. And I'm wondering, is it just the discount rate of being an operator in Peru, or what are your thoughts on it?
I think that over the last few weeks, despite the fact that obviously there is a political turbulence or some degree of turbulence in Peru, the markets have been very slow, not responsive. We are today at a market cap of approximately $40 million that we believe is literally a third of a fair value of the company. Obviously, our politicians are not doing a great job in promoting the image of the country, but our investors and the international community should be aware that Peru is, let's say, a relatively unstable country in that political environment. So, in other words, what's happening in Peru is not that uncommon, and there is a level of cyclicality in this political sort of a scene, if you will. Okay, I believe that nothing is going to really change in the country. Okay, the mining industry is not going to be really affected. We are in a mining area. Our people are miners. They have mining actually as part of their pride and identity. And all in all, I think Peru is going to keep being one of the most attractive jurisdictions for mining investment. The markets will recognize that in a few months. Okay, the markets will also know us better. I think we're new in the markets. Okay, they will realize that since we went public, we've been delivering on everything that we said we could. Okay, so we are building that credibility. We want to see our share price north of $1. I mean, just in the last 2 weeks, both Echelon Partners and Red Cloud Securities are given amazing target price for us because they realize how undervalued we are. So I have no doubt that we're going to have very attractive returns for our investors.
And you think money will come into the market in Peru? Because I just, here in Canada, the news, the headlines are, oh, Hochschild's mine, and they weren't allowed to increase operations because of environmental reasons. Just last week, a Chinese copper mine said they're going to be pulling from Peru because of the community relationships, where there's a problem there. So why don't you go ahead and talk about the ESG of your company and your community involvement and your relationships with the community?
We are in central Peru, in a region called Huancavelica, relatively close to Lima. And actually, we operate at an altitude of about 4,300 meters above the sea. It's pretty high. Mining is important there because it's not only the main activity, industrial activity or economic activity, but it actually, as I said, is ingrained in their mindset, in their spirit, in their pride. We have a good relationship with our community. A relationship with our community is like a marriage. You have to work on that every day, and we do so. Our team is extremely passionate about it. We actually call ourselves, internally, we call ourselves a sustainable development company through mining, okay? Because we believe in the impact we can have. We are modest in size, however, we do everything to our reach to have a positive impact in terms of fostering the local economy. For instance, we hire all the ore transportation with the so-called local companies or community companies. We have all the services, ancillary service to the mine activity with the local communities. 70% of our workforce, 70% is local. The other 30% is not just because we can't source all the talent, okay? But 70% is amazing. I think we should be one of the highest in the country. And again, despite some turmoil in those relationships in between big mining companies and some other communities or even political leaders that are trying to negotiate something that might not be fair, okay? And I think MMG with Las Bambas or Antamina or Hochschild are doing the right things, okay? But I do not think that the medium-sized companies are exposed to that level of scrutiny or conflict, if you will.
No, that's a great answer. Appreciate the transparency there. Why don't you go ahead and tell us more about Nueva Recuperada and the project? What's there? What assets are there? What projects are there? Just for anyone that hasn't looked into your company yet.
Nueva Recuperada is a district scale project. And we like that because the first time we visited the project, we actually acquired an old mine of Minas Buenaventura Mining Company, a New York listed, relatively large Peruvian company. And they had a small concession package with a processing facility, with all the permits, with all the infrastructure connected to the grid. And we thought that that was a great opportunity because the whole district around that mine was just spectacular. So over the span of about 2 or 3 years, we did a beautiful consolidation of the district. Today, we have almost 20,000 hectares, between, I think, 15,000 hectares 100% owned and some other option agreements. We are mining and we are exploring very interesting geology. And what's really important, and when I say district scale, is that now we are building a project that we call Tangana. It's a new mine, okay? And we're having not only production, but actually exciting drilling results. And just one project out of the 2 projects that we will build within the next 2 years, okay? At the moment, we have a 600 tons a day plant capacity. We would permit it for a 20% increase. That's 720 tons a day. But in the long term, within the 3 years to come, we have the vision to become a three times that capacity operation. So let's say we want to get north of the 2,000 tons a day. Why is that? Because we have a large district, we're actually having good exploration, and we're going to build it. We're not going to be sitting on our assets. We build mines and we operate our mines.
And what's the ore being processed through the mine right now? Are you hitting the high grade silver yet, or are you close? Or
Actually, over the last year, when we started to process ore from our concessions, we were exploiting some veins that were, let's say, carbonate hosted.
Mhm.
They were very good veins, very wide, whatever, but the grades were not that high. So now that we finally expanded our footprint, our permitting onto a new area, we are now starting to mine the higher grade. And that's exciting because our Tangana project is a multi-vein, single mine project. What does it mean? That it means that with a single infrastructure, going to exploit several narrow veins. Our width typically is around 1.20 m, okay? But it's really good grades. We are implementing modern techniques, long hole blasting. It's a very standard metallurgy, but we are developing that in an aggressive way. So production is going to come up. It's ramping up actually, and grades are good. Overall, as I said, we believe we're going to produce about 2 million ounces equivalent next year, which is just fantastic for a company of our size.
Wow.
And we've been doing that, or we are doing that in an extremely short span of time.
And that's great news. And talk about the exploration more too. Where's your emphasis being placed? Because you touched on you want to mine at, or you're looking at Tangana. Are you also looking at Esperanza right now? Like, talk about the drill program going on.
Yes, actually, we are drilling in Tangana. It's all actually underground drilling at the moment because it's extremely hilly over there. So we're developing an underground mine. So basically, we are drilling underground, but we also have some other targets. So let's say the first period of this year is going to be resource definition. We drill underground to extend our measured and indicated resource, to extend the mine life, okay, and to give confidence, more confidence to our investors. But we also have the Esperanza project that we're going to be accessing in Q2 and potentially drilling in Q3. Okay, again, bringing 2 projects of the same entity, same size up online. But what's really important is that in this Recuperada district, we are sitting on a massive epithermal system. These hydrothermal systems that bring obviously these typical veins of silver, lead, zinc, copper, and gold, okay, out of massive proportions. And underneath that, there is targets that we are now identified that are either porphyry targets or skarn targets. We are really excited about those. Obviously, as I said, in the first place, we're going to secure our mine life, but also in the second part of the year, we're going to be drilling that, okay? So it's all exciting. Actually, in this part of Peru, in central Peru, not very large deposits have been found yet. Okay? However, we have every evidence. So in other words, we have a district that is very fertile ground for discoveries, if you will.
Mhm. Why don't you go ahead and elaborate on what have you discovered so far? Because you just had a news release not too long ago. Were you happy with the results?
Yes, indeed. I mean, our mine is a brand new mine. Out of the 7 veins we have in Tangana, only 1 vein was exploited in the past. The underground sampling of that vein is extremely high grade. Don't forget that that mine was exploited back in the 40 years ago, without technology or anything like that. So grades were extremely high. So we're really happy with those grades. The surface sampling we've done on the rest of the veins is also quite spectacular, vein on surface. And the drilling we've done is really exciting, not only because it's good grade, because also we've managed to prove the vertical extent of the veins actually more than 250 meters below our portal and also on a strike. So in other words, we want to prove that Tangana is going to be one more of those, again, good silver polymetallic mines of central Peru, using companies in this country like Pan American Silver. It was founded in 1995, okay? And they built Quirubilca and they built Huaron. And you have companies like Volcan and Buenaventura themselves. I think Recuperada is going to be one of those projects.
Thank you for that. And I wanted to ask you about the currency, because I know the Peruvian sol went down in value relative to the US dollar this year. You're selling the silver in US dollars, is that correct? And you're operating in sols. So how is the currency fluctuating affecting your bottom line?
Yes, the currency, actually, the macroeconomics of Peru were very stable over the last 20 years. So typically, you would have an exchange rate of about 330, 330 soles, 3.30 soles, right? $1. Today, we're around four, okay? And we had even worse days during the presidential elections.
Yeah,
Most of the Peruvian economy is dollarized, okay? Especially when it comes not only to commodities, but the main supplies, gas, diesel, explosives, tires, and all the main supplies. Obviously, our salaries are paid in soles.
mhm,
So the depreciation of the sol could actually be positive in terms of our cash cost, okay? But we really don't see big changes in the economics of the project at all.
perfect. Thank you for that. And you touched on porphyry deposit. So you're focusing on high grade underground mining right now, right? When you get to a porphyry deposit, what would your plan be there? Just
Porphyries tend to be big,
mhm,
and really, porphyry takes time and takes money. That's why I said our focus is to be a performing little company, become a mid-tier. We already intersected very interesting rocks, porphyry style mineralization, if you will. We'll keep exploring that while we exploit and we drill Tangana, and we'll come up with news whenever it's due. Okay, I think there is potential for porphyry systems containing both gold and copper. Okay, again, we've identified that, but we'll come there, or we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
for sure. And you have an Ecuadorian deposit too, right? Do you want to touch on that for our listeners?
Yeah, actually, we have two other gold deposits. The secondary project, or the second project we have, is also in Peru. It's called Coriorco and Las Centas. It's in the area of Ayacucho, near the coast, and actually it's a low sulfidation environment. It's veins with very high grade, but also there is some other targets, let's say bigger targets in Las Santas project. So we like the project because we know it's been produced in the past by some small scale miners, but we see the potential of both quick production, but more importantly, interest in drilling. Okay, it's good grades. We're gonna be working that project actually between Q2 and Q3 this year, and we hope to be reporting good results on that. In Ecuador, we actually have another property. It's called Julian, okay? And that Julian property is in the neighborhood of many other discoveries and good projects in Ecuador. Certainly is the earliest stage project that we have,
Yeah,
okay? And we'll be also working on that project in 2022.
perfect. Thank you for that. Is there anything else you want to mention about the company that we haven't talked about before we get into the vault segment? So something I missed in here that you want to inform the listeners on?
I think our company is quite interesting. As I said, we're a very entrepreneurial group. We build the company in a bottom-up fashion. Now we're finally listed. I think we want to become not only a company that has a very good share price in the months to come, but we really want to become the vehicle of choice for communities, for investors, for other kind of partners to become that mid-tier silver company in Latin America. We have the team, we have the connection with the markets, and I think we're going to grow both organically and eventually inorganically. Okay, so we're excited like that, and I think we're building the most competitive team in our space.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Jose, and thank you for your time. I do have three more questions. I have a recurrent segment here. It's called The Vault, and they're mentorship-like questions, where I just seek guidance and advice from my listeners and or my guests, sorry, and this is my favorite part of the episode. So let's get into the vault.
Excellent.
In the vault, just three questions, like I said. What did your parents teach you at a young age that has stuck with you to today?
My parents taught me to work really hard. I come from a working class family in Madrid. I was lucky enough to grow in a country that gave me almost everything. But what my parents gave me was actually that mindset of studying hard, working hard, and building a life for yourself.
Thank you. Second question. We are the Wealth Holders podcast. So can you name a high net worth individual or a wealth holder? And if you don't want to disclose their name, that's perfectly fine. But what did he or she teach you, either in business or in life?
I remember a high net worth individual. I won't say the name because he was a mining magnate, if you will. Unfortunately, he passed in an accident, but he taught me to be entrepreneurial, to be hands-on, to be a warrior. And he basically described the story on how to build mining companies from scratch. We as a team, we dream of doing something like that, okay? Building that spirit within the company.
How would you do that? Like through the culture?
Yes, we are working really hard on the culture of the company. As a young company, we are now working on every single aspect that, or better to say, setting up the foundations to become a proper mid-tier mining company. Okay, we're working on the cultural aspect of the company, involving not only communities and health and safety, but actually the way we work together. Okay, I think we want to become that agile company I described before. And I'm lucky enough to have a core team of individuals that, we act and live as a fellowship,
Mhm.
if you will. And we hope that we can actually foster that development over the next years and have this fast growth mining company. It's a lot of fun, actually.
Perfect. I like hearing that. My last question for you. I'm just a 26-year-old guy starting his journey in life. Any advice for the young listeners out there?
Travel, challenge the status quo. And there is one thing, remember this sentence, there is only one dogma, and the dogma is that there is no dogma.
I like that. Thank you for coming on and telling your story to my listeners out there. If there's anything else you want to say to the audience, but thank you.
No, thanks to you, Kyle, and thank you to the listeners for taking the time to listen to me. I am really excited about talking to the next generation of people. We believe that we are a young company, not only in terms of being a 4 years old company, but the management team is relatively young. I'm really excited, or more excited, to be talking to the younger than to the older. So I hope we have more opportunities to meet.
Oh, I'm sure we will.